Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Once again, welcome to the conversation. Today we have with us a fine young man from the United Kingdom and somebody that everybody is familiar with. He has been a voice in this struggle, actually a very leading voice among the youth, a practicing attorney in the United Kingdom. Ladies and gentlemen, we have Mr. Yankuba Dao of Kibaaro Radio. Yankuba, welcome to the conversation.
Thank you very much, Mr. Krubally, for having me today. I look forward to an interesting conversation with you today. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. Once again, our goal today is just to carry on the conversation against the dictatorship in the Gambia. Our goal is to just simply have Gambians over here to discuss issues pertaining to our nation, where we stand, what our views are, hopefully speak to our government, the opposition, and to one another, so that when we find each other at a table where we're discussing national matters, the process would be a lot easier with us. Yankuba, once again, welcome. I know that you're a very well-known individual, but still it is always very important for you to take a quick minute. Tell us who Yankuba Dao is, and what do you currently do in the United Kingdom?
Okay. Well, I've never been asked this question before to explain myself, but let me give a brief intro. My name is Yankuba Dao, as you rightly said. I'm a practicing solicitor in the United Kingdom. I'm also a political activist, as you mentioned, and a human rights activist as well. I am very much active in the Gambian struggle for a return to democracy and the rule of law and respect for the rights of our people. Now, that is, I was born and I grew up in the Gambia. I was born from a village called Kafuta and grew up in the Gambia, completed my GCSE schooling and A-levels in the UK and in university and to law school, and become finally qualifying as a solicitor and practicing solicitor in the UK at present. That's basically who I am, basically.
Thank you so much. It is very important. I ask these questions because I want the people to understand that obviously where we're from, that's always a very good introduction. And also what we're individually doing right now, you know, to support our families. That is important not only to, you know, let people know who we are, what we do, but also to let the young understand that, you know, the sky is no longer the limit, that you can do anything, anywhere, and be anything that you want to be. As a young man from Kafuta, I'm sure it's a great pride and success to be a practicing attorney in the United Kingdom, and the youth need to know that. But we're going to circle back to this, you know, whole practicing of law in the UK and connect it to the movement that we have right now. Let's get into the real matters, Mr. Darboe, and we're going to try to have you here for a quick hour and just to see where you stand on certain issues. You are a member of the United Democratic Party, which is UDP, and most recently I have seen you on media, on social media, with your political party leader, Honorable Lawyer Ousainou Darboe. He recently visited the UK, and can you tell us what his agenda was and the response of the people over there, because we're in a political year?
Okay, I mean, the visit, as I understand it, the visit was a family visit. He came down to see his children and grandchildren in the UK. But because of his status as a political leader, the supporters, party members of the UDP in the UK decided that he cannot come and go silently, that they had to organize a sort of a symposium or a small meeting in Birmingham, which was basically which happened in Birmingham. And the turnout there was very good. And he tried his best to encourage the UDP diaspora, or the Gambian diaspora in general, to continue our participation in the political discourse. And basically also he was encouraging our people not only to be involved in the political discourses, but also to deem it necessary to try and support the political parties on the ground financially, because that's one of the major caveats or constraints that they're facing there. So that was one of the issues he raised in the meeting. And that happened in Birmingham, and a lot of Gambians attended the meeting. So basically, that's what happened on that date.
Thank you.
Yes.
What was the response of the people when the people came out? Well, what feeling did you get? Are the Gambian people in the UK ready for change, and are they ready to support this the opposition on the ground?
Indeed. I mean, the people are, as you can understand, the Gambian people at the moment, quite understandably, everybody is a bit frustrated with the way the situation is going back home, and a lot of all the people, one would say, are a bit hopeless. They don't seem to have much hope in the political, in the electoral process. They do not think that the electoral process will succeed in ending this regime of Yahya Jammeh. And Mr. Darboe's presence at the meeting was very important indeed, and he tried his best to convince them that it is something that can happen. If the Gambian diaspora, instead of feeling pessimistic about things, if we are a little bit optimistic and not only partake in the discourse alone, but deem it necessary to put our money where our mouth is and support the opposition, they believe that they can indeed be able to defeat Yahya Jammeh in the elections. And we hope that. I think that has given a lot of hope to a lot of people who were somehow very pessimistic about the whole political situation in the country at present. So hopefully those people were motivated, and hopefully we can see them not only participating in political discourse, but also supporting the opposition financially, because that is something which the opposition needs. Desperately. They need the funding to be able to do a lot.
Right. Thank you so much for that eloquent answer there. Now, Mr. Darboe, I'm going to be very direct with you, and this is some of the questions, not only my questions, but questions of Gambians. The international community is listening. The Gambian population is listening. Does Honorable Lawyer Ousainou Darboe have what it takes to take the Gambia to a third republic, end this dictatorship, and move us forward as a nation?
The problem that Honorable Lawyer Ousainou Darboe has is that he is constitutionally barred from standing in the next election. So it's really going to be difficult for him to be able to lead the country into the Third Republic now, considering the fact that the Constitution barred him because of his age. So, but I believe that with his presence in the political arena would be significant in whoever he throws his support behind. I think that person could actually make the big difference in the political political situation in the country. I don't know who the UDP is going to choose to become the next leader. He said that the UDP is going to have a Congress, and at that Congress, the party will choose the flag bearer or whoever is going to lead the party in the next election. So we wait to see who that person will be. And I believe that despite the fact that Darboe is barred constitutionally from standing in the next election, I believe that that will not diminish his active participation in the political dispensation there, and also in sort of galvanizing or attracting support for whoever is chosen to lead the United Democratic Party. So to answer the question, is he the one is he going to be able to lead the Gambia into the Third Republic? I think the answer to that will be no, considering the fact that unless and until we have a constitutional change, I cannot see that happening.
So, Mr. Darboe, what you're in a sense telling us is that Darboe is running around campaigning as the Secretary General of the United Democratic Party, given that he cannot run. Would you agree then to the average person that is saying, why is he then still representing the party? Shouldn't he have the person that will be running next to him, given that elections is in December? And we're up to this point right now. The reason I ask you that question is because you speak to some other people, they say he's going to run. I know that they're trying to fight for election reforms. I mean, isn't it confusing the people, given that we know he can run, but he's still out there campaigning? He's still the face of the party. Don't you think that you're, in a sense, really wasting time and not really identifying the next leader so that the person can have enough time to present themselves, or the party can have enough time to present themselves to the country, so that the citizens can buy into his or her idea and way of governing, so that they can vote for the person?
Good question. There are a lot of issues involved here. Well, firstly, I don't think he is sort of misrepresenting. He is currently the leader of the United Democratic Party, and therefore he is right in representing himself as the leader of the United Democratic Party. But you see, the UDP, considering the political dynamics of the Gambia at present, the UDP has to be very clever and very wise in their actions. So one reason why it was not, it wouldn't have been wise for them to, or for Darboe to start sowing his successor to the people, is the fear that what happened to Amadou Sane, who everybody used to believe that would be the successor to Darboe in taking over the party. You know what happened to him. Jammeh and his government ended up they brought trumped up charges against him and then locked him up for 5 years, despite the fact that President Jammeh announced to have granted amnesty to so many people, some of whom committed some heinous crimes that you cannot imagine, but wasn't willing to extend that amnesty to Amadou. We all know why, because the whole purpose of locking him up is simply to prevent him from standing against the regime in the upcoming election. So the UDP, learning from that hindsight, they are very careful to jump to say, this is going to be our party flag bearer in the next election. Because if they've done that, maybe the person on a visit to the UK with Darboe on return, they could accuse him of involving anti-government or subversive activities, and then the next thing you will know is that he too will be locked up in prison. This is the political climate we have in the Gambia, so they have to be very careful, and that's why they decided that, okay, we can wait till somewhere March or April, do the Congress, and then choose whoever we want to choose. But the second part, or maybe the third point to that, is this. The UDP, as Darboe himself stated at the last meeting, the UDP is not Lawyer Darboe, and Lawyer Darboe is not UDP. The UDP is a party made up of so many people, and those people decide and choose who leads the party. So the people will be meeting during the Congress that they are planning to happen somewhere in either March or April. And at that meeting, at that Congress, they will choose a leader, the leader that will lead them to during the next election. So Darboe single-handedly cannot choose who will be his successor. That has to be decided by the party and the party members. And they will do that at the Congress. And they normally do these congresses in March or April. But like I said earlier, I think it is wise for them to hold on to the name of their nominee until somewhere closer to the election, considering the fact that Jammeh is not a Democrat, and is capable of doing anything just to hinder the party's chances of success in the next election.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that, Mr. Darboe. So you're telling me that this is more of a tactical game, which I understand the dynamics of it. But don't you think that waiting until the 11th hour and introducing someone that the nation doesn't know is actually not putting UDP in a better position to even contest? And given that the UDP is going into Congress, I understand the Congress is going to happen in Basse to pick a leader. Are you telling us that for sure that the UDP have, as somebody who is an insider, that Lawyer Darboe is not going to come out as the leader of the party, given that the Constitution does not qualify him to run?
I mean, that will be decided by the party members at the Congress. They will decide who they want to lead. If they want to maintain Lawyer Darboe there, despite knowing the fact that he is constitutionally barred from standing, then maybe we will have a Myanmar situation where Aung San Suu Kyi is not eligible or is not qualified to stand as the president of the country, but she still led the party into the election, and I think the party won. And I don't know what her position is now, but she is at some executive level. I don't know whether that can happen in the Gambia. We're talking about two different political dynamics here. But I don't think, tactically, I think they're right to hold on to the name. I think it might probably, people can say, might hinder the party, but I don't know whether it will make a big difference, because I would think that it would be better for them to have a leader at the next election than not having a leader, or having a leader that is behind bars, because Jammeh is capable of doing everything. And we've seen what they've done to Amadou Sane, and he is still behind bars. So if they are quick to name their party leader, say, for example, since last year, which would have been the ideal thing to do, if they had done that, God knows what would have happened to that leader by now, because the APRC could have employed all kinds of tactics to literally hinder the party's chances of success in the election. And that's, I think it's something that the party is much aware of as well. And that's why, for them, it's better for them to have a leader, even at the last minute, than having no leader on the day. I think this is they are in between a hard place and a rock. So in such a situation, you just have to go for the most favorable position, or the most favorable thing that you can do, I think.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that. So then back to my question again. Does the UDP have what it takes to get Gambia out of the tyranny that we're in into the Third Republic? You think the UDP as a political party does have what it takes to take us? And are they financially ready to finance an effective political campaign across the country to depose, to get Yahya Jammeh out of power?
I think they have what it would take to get rid of Jammeh. I think they have that. Finance-wise, they have finances, but they still need more finances. So anybody who wants to support them, and this has to be, well, it doesn't really have to be Gambians alone. Anybody who has interest in supporting democracy in the Gambia, or seeing democracy return in the Gambia, I think they should all try to support the party, because it's the majority, it's the largest opposition party in the country. And a lot of people believe that the UDP had won the 1996 election. They also believe that they might have won the 2001 election. The problem is, without having a level playing field, it's always going to be difficult. The challenges are always going to be there, but one can always be optimistic that something can happen. And this time around, there had been a bit of change, because they're talking about spot count, which means that instead of the ballots traveling from one polling station to the counting center, it's actually going to be counted on the spot where the polling took place. So we are hoping, because at most of the time, the rigging normally happens when the ballots are being moved from one place to another. This is where, from what we learned from different people who work for the administration, this is what they told us, that Jammeh does normally have its own pre-filled ballot boxes.
Okay.
So what he normally does is between once the ballots are in transit from the polling station to the counting center, this is where they normally sweep the ballot boxes, in which case Jammeh ended up having more votes than the opposition, despite whatever votes they might have had from the people who voted for them. They ended up being more or less ended up getting what Jammeh had actually designed at State House, basically. So we are hoping that if there is this spot counting at the ballot, at the polling places, hopefully we might see a change, and the people's votes might be reflected in the results. We are hoping that that might bring the change. But I would say that the UDP indeed has the wherewithal to take the Gambia out of the misery that we're in at the moment.
Thank you so much, Mr. Darboe. Now, all indications are here that with the United Democratic Party is obviously going to come out with a leader. From everything that I'm hearing from you, given that for 21 years now, every election, the numbers for the UDP keep going down from a high of, I believe, 36 to now is dwindling down to possibly in the 20s, and Jammeh's numbers keep going up. What makes you believe that on the spot counting, apart from that transportation, do you think that Jammeh was able to steal about 40% of, I mean, because I think he beat the UDP by almost about 40% in difference. Do you think he was able to steal that much?
I think that's what he's been doing, because when you look at the UDP rallies, because you know one of the things that the UDP is not doesn't have during the electoral period is that of access to the public media, which is the GRTS and the other media houses. Okay. So we tend to see the sort of the attendance at UDP rallies from the pictures that we get from people who attend the rallies. And when you see the pictures of the people that normally attend UDP rallies, I mean, it's difficult for someone to tell you, even in the repressive climate that we have in the Gambia, that all those people only turn up to those rallies and never vote for the party. It simply does not make sense. So that tells you that Jammeh literally designed these results as he wished, and then he can increase it anyhow he likes and reduce it anyhow he likes, because one cannot understand how the UDP could be performing better before than it is doing now, despite the fact that the livelihood of Gambians has worsened from the last election to the one after it. So it simply it does not make sense. The only thing that if you're a politician, you would say that simply doesn't make sense.
Does it make sense?
No.
Which I understand. We all know that something happens. Jammeh, obviously, African elections in general are not free and fair.
Yeah.
Given that, and given all the oppression that happened, why does the UDP still find itself trying to do things the right way, following the constitution, knowing that we do have evidence that the sitting government is not following that same constitution? And could that be part of a failure of the leadership or the UDP as a party in general? Killings have happened that Ousainou Darboe himself, or lawyer Ousainou Darboe himself, knows about, you know about, I know about. People have come and talked to him as a leader.
Mm-hmm.
Why do we still keep waiting? And as somebody who has 30% of the voice of that nation, why does he and the political party UDP have to wait for every 5 years to try and get Yaya out of power?
You know, a lot of people have been asking this question: why is the UDP more or less politically dormant instead of being active out there to call for public demonstrations and other stuff? The only problem with that is we all know how the situation in the Gambia is. The UDP have reacted at one point in Basse, I don't know what year it was, maybe in 2000 or 2001. And we all know what happened thereafter. Lawyer Darboe and some of his close aiders ended up being charged for murder, and they spent a lot of money and time. Even the attorney that was trying to represent them got shot somewhere. So the question is from the Gambian perspective, is that if we should march out and Jammeh comes out and shoots us, will the international community help us? This is one big question that the Gambian people want to, because people will say, well, why are they not going out? We have to remember that Gambians have gone out once before. The students did it in 2000, April 10th and 11th. They went out there. Jammeh shot about 12 or 14 or 13 of them, and nothing happened. The international community is still silent about it. They have not said much about it. In fact, the justice minister that was the justice minister at the time, who failed to prosecute the people who committed such atrocities, has been promoted by the international community as their new prosecutor at the ICC. So from the Gambian perspective is that we are literally in this situation or quagmire, and basically, if we should march out, if we should go out there, international media first and foremost are banned from entering the Gambia. We know that Al Jazeera cannot even get a permit to enter. CNN is the same. BBC is the same. How will the world know about our situation, and what will the world do about it? This is a big question that I think we, the political activists in the diaspora, needs to help the Gambians get the answer to that, help them answer those questions. But from the opposition leader's position is, yes, if we call the people to go out, will the people come? This is one big question. We have seen the UDP members like Femi Peters was taken to court in 2006 for holding a rally without a permit, and he was prosecuted and he went to prison. No international action was taken against the government, despite protests that we have done in the UK and many other places against it. Nothing happened. So from the opposition standpoint is this, and this is one of the things that lawyer Yanks Darboe stated during the meeting in Birmingham, is that, well, I don't want to take a step which I will end up regretting, or the international people or the people that are sympathetic to our cause will end up saying, well, we're a bit disappointed in these actions that you've taken. So he said, we have to accept, and we have to accept that there is a law in the Gambia. That law was passed by the Gambians in the form of the 1997 constitution. And the provisions of those constitutions are what we have to live by. No matter how tough and unfair, biased they are, we still have to live by those laws, because that is what we've been told, that it is the same Gambian people who passed that law into effect. And that is the law which is being amended by parliamentarians who we are still being told that are being voted by the Gambian people. So the UDP's position at the moment is a bit sympathetic. I think it's pathetic, I would call it. I will describe it.
Mr. Darboe, you said that. I mean, the UDP has been in existence for a good 3 election cycles, which automatically gives them 15 years of politics on the ground. Mm-hmm. If the leadership is still having question that when they get out, will the people follow? Wouldn't you say that the leadership has not done a good job? Because if I lead a part of 30% of our people that have constantly voted for me, what else do I need to show me that when I get out there that 30% is going to come out? So far, we have seen students that are individuals or very, very small, minute, section of the population. But we have yet to see any political party that is represented or representing a majority of the people rise up and do any type of demonstration. Wouldn't you say that's a shortcoming on their part?
No, I wouldn't. I wouldn't sort of vilify them in that way. I think we have to look at it this way, because you remember there was a politician, a famous politician, who used to say this kind of thing, who used to say UDP leadership is weak, and that is in the person of Lamin Wajwara.
Yes.
He said he actually left the UDP because he deemed the leadership very weak, and he said he was going to set up his own. And when he started his own party, he hadn't been able to do anything that he actually said the other party was weak in doing.
Yeah.
And in fact, what happened is he ended up even jumping ship from his own party and joining the APRC party. So people who are very good at criticizing the party of being weak, but I think the big question, or the right question that everybody needs to ask themselves, is what are we actually doing to help the party's leadership to be able to achieve what we want them to achieve? I mean, we cannot be from one side, and then we've got to be a bit objective rather than subjective. Because when we said, well, you guys haven't done this, you need to do this, I think we should put ourselves in their shoes and say, if I was in that position, what would I have done? What would I be doing this, or would I be doing that? But to answer your question, the 30% of people, you see, this is one of the things about leadership. There is a difference when you lead the people to a march or through a public uprising, and when you're leading people to vote in an electoral process. The UDP campaign from 1996 had always been for people to vote for them to participate in an electoral process, not asking or galvanizing them to take part in demonstrations or public uprising or something. And what we have seen from a lot of the countries that have sort of like successfully gone through public uprising, which resulted in overthrowing or ending dictatorship in those countries. What happened in those places is not actually political parties that have been able to motivate the people to go out in the street or take this thing. These things were initiated by individual people. So individual people, and sometimes it's literally an instant motivation, I would say.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mr. Darboe, for that. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, you're listening to the conversation. Mr. Momodou Krubally here, speaking with Yanuba Dao of the United Kingdom, of also Kibaaro Radio. Yankuba, listening to you right now, you're very well spoken, articulate. Seems like if this was in front of international community, you're making a very good case. Why don't we have this type of voice out there in the media, talking to the diaspora and the international community, knowing that no matter what happens on the ground, the diaspora and the international community is going to have a lot to do. We don't see a lot of United Democratic Party activities out in the international community. Why is that? Why don't you all even have a PR person that will be constantly reaching out to these mediums and selling your agenda out there like you're doing right now? Because I'm here listening to you, I'm saying, wow, if they had just had this guy speaking for them, answering questions for them, because these questions that I'm asking you are the questions that the average Gambian have, and I think they need to be answered to the people so that people can understand why you guys are not coming out. That has been one of the biggest questions of, for the last 21 years. Why doesn't the UDP have any international presence and a formal PR individual who will be out there selling the agenda so that you can strengthen yourself both internally and externally?
Indeed, I think that is it's a setback on the part of the party, I would say. And one of the things that, because last time that Seinu came down here, it was one of the things that people raised in a small meeting that we had. People said about the different problems that the different groups are facing within the diaspora. And what he said is that one of the phrases he used, he said, Gambia, anybody who knows Gambia is very tough at the moment. and it's difficult for someone to even lead a family, much more a political party. And especially if you're dealing with the problems of the political party in the Gambia and also have to address the political issues that are in the diaspora. I think the UDP membership in the diaspora needs to be a lot more organized, and we need to delegate people to do certain tasks, people who are really good at those. At the moment, I think things are being run voluntarily by individuals who have taken their time to do what they can for the party. And one person in particular who deserves commendation for that is Lamin Tunkara. He's doing a great job. He is trying to do a lot. And every time I speak to him, he said, look, I need help. I need so many people to help me. But I don't know why people are not coming forth. I think that the problem that people have is that it's not easy for everybody to come out in public and talk. And I am not actually the spokesperson of the UDP. I'm just answering questions as a member of the party. I am a supporter of the party, but not at the top end of the party, unfortunately. But I agree with you. The UDP needs to have somebody, a spokesperson who can answer questions on behalf of the party, who can also be able to sell the party's manifesto to the Gambian people. I think that is very, very important, and that is lacking in the Gambia. And this is the problem. Everybody thinks that we all have to depend on the leader of the party, Yanks Darboe, who is in the Gambia. And then the people who are in the diaspora also want to rely on him. And he's in the Gambia. When he speaks there, it's hard for us in the diaspora to hear it. Yeah. So the party definitely needs to have someone. I think that they already have someone who is meant to be running this thing, but unfortunately, it seems like not everybody is hearing him. And I would encourage the person, if he is hearing this interview, to do more. And the party executive or the people that are in the diaspora, I will encourage them to take this advice on board and then try to nominate someone who can represent the party in the media and assist in propagating or selling the party's agendas to the people.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Yankuba, for that. Now, you're an attorney. You understand the law very well. I had a friend who told me one time was doing something bad, and I tried to tell him, I said, listen, if they catch you, you're going to jail. You know that. He's like, I don't know the law. I can do anything I want, and if I get in trouble, I will get lawyers to get me out. You know the law. Honorable Yannuba Dao knows the law. Mm-hmm. What do you have to say with the people that say maybe this guy understands the Constitution and the law too much to the point where he will not be able to unseat this guy, and this is the reason why we're still there? Do you think if we had somebody there who was leading this 30% of the population, who would have been a little bit more confrontational, we would have been out of this predicament right now? Or do you don't see that happening? Does his understanding of the law, including yourself, because the way you're answering your questions, I see you're always trying to revert back. Although it's a bad law, although it's a bad constitution, it is still the Constitution. If we go with that argument and with that way of looking at things in a flawed, constitution in the Gambia, are we going to be sitting here still talking the next 20 years that we still have a constitution on the ground that we have to abide by? Or do we at some point just need to get somebody there who is ready to take on and sometimes maybe even not look at the Constitution a little bit to create that necessary, I guess, uncomfort for Jammeh to really force him to the negotiating table or to change his ways?
Indeed. I mean, that is a very good question. When you go to the law school, there's a famous phrase that they tell everybody. They said, once you study law, your perception of law changes forever. So just like you said, someone who doesn't understand the Constitution and the provisions of the Constitution wouldn't care much about the Constitution. So maybe having someone who is not a lawyer, we would have got a different aspect. But I would say that there are opposition party leaders there who are not actually legal luminaries, like, for example, Hamad Ba, and you have Wajwara himself, the lion of Nyamina.
But they don't have the population, though. Those people, in a sense, don't have the population that Hussein had. So maybe if UDP was in there and they had that population, it would be a different thing.
It could be. It could be a different thing, but it will all be down to whether the people will follow them, you see. Because we have a situation, you know, and this is something, this to an extent it goes on to confirm what you just said about people who studied law, their mentality about the law and other people. Because once you become a lawyer, the whole concept of a lawyer is he advocates the law. And this is why we are called advocates. So whether the law is good or bad, so long as it is law, a lawyer prefers having a law than where there is no law. Because where there is no law, that's what one of the famous philosophers describe as chaos. Is the man is a neighbor against his neighbor, because there is no law. And the law is simply an agreement of the society or the community. We all agree that we should live by this. If I don't do this, you don't do that. If you do it, one that we said you shouldn't do, then you should be punished for it. So we already have a person who doesn't have much regard for the law, and this is Jammeh. Yeah? My own revolutionary instinct will tell me that therefore we should not obey the law. We should reciprocate the way he treats the law or the way he views the law. And that is, if he doesn't care about it, we shouldn't care about it. But the difference is this. He has the law enforcement and they have the legitimate right to be armed. We, on the other hand, haven't got the legitimate rights to be armed. The question is, can we be able to take on them? We need the international community's backing. We need the international community to support us. And I think this is what the Gambian people are asking. If the Gambian people believe, or to any extent have the inkling that if they do something, Britain will step in. And this is one thing that I always condemn Britain for, because Britain, unlike France, hardly intervene in the affairs of their former colonies. France is always involved. It's always there. It would tell the people, well, this and that. Some of the opposition, you would say, would get the hints from France that if you do this, we will support you. We will come and then France will intervene and all that stuff. We don't get that from Britain. So I think we should put much pressure on Britain. And this is what I keep telling Gambians in the diaspora, that everybody should go to see their constituents, MP, their member of parliament, and then make the voice clearer to them that this is the situation that is happening in Gambia. And Britain needs to do something. It cannot remain silent about it. So we definitely need to show something. I think that is what will get that revolutionary instinct in every one of us. At the moment, I don't think it's only the leader. If the people, the 30% of the people, because remember, that 30% are more powerful than the leader. If they believe that something is definitely wrong and the leader is not leading them to it, I don't think that they will hold back. I think they will actually react. But the difficulty they all have is that they're challenging a monster, and that monster is so overwhelmingly powerful that if they stand up against them, they could end up, it's more like committing suicide, and they don't know what will come out of it. They've seen their comrades fallen and no justice still. So it's it's a very difficult situation, I would say.
Thank you so much, Mr. Darboe. Again, as an attorney, you do go into that courtroom to fight for people's rights, and whether they commit crimes or not, you try to, I guess, free them. Part of that has to do with some sort of a negotiating skills, because when most attorneys find themselves in a situation where they see the worst for their clients, they always tend to, they're very good at negotiating and a better deal.
Mm-hmm.
Lawyer Ousainou Darboe, as a very seasoned attorney, given that he's still not able to bring this opposition together to be the leader to negotiate, what would you say if somebody said, for somebody of his experience who's been in the courtroom, sold a case, negotiated a lot of cases, has he failed? Would that ever be in his resume that he has failed to bring an opposition against a dictatorship? Or would that be an unfair accusation?
I think to an extent, I would say that it's a bit unfair because of the fact that we are in a democratic dispensation, more or less, because every party has its own right. We all have a right of association. They can decide who they want to associate with. So you can only try your best to convince them to join you. But if smaller parties want to join you and they want to dictate the terms of the condition, you see, it's always going to be difficult. Yeah. In terms of negotiating, lawyers always, you're right, lawyers, one of the best skills of a lawyer is to negotiate. You can, but we negotiate on the law. This is politics. It's very difficult. Okay. And then at most of the time when we are negotiating, you always have your position, because what lawyers do is, when one of the skills of negotiation, you should know where you cannot go back, and you should know where you can basically forgo. So if you want to go into that kind of negotiation, you know already, this is the part that I'm willing to compromise, but this is the part of principles that I don't want to compromise. Now, I think that they have tried, the UDP have tried to bring all the political parties together many times, but the principal core which they were not ready to compromise is that of leadership of that whatever alliance that comes, that they are able to form. So that has always been the big problem, is that of who will lead. The party is saying, well, we are the majority party, and in every part of alliance that we have ever heard of, if political parties come together and form a coalition, it's always the party that comes with the largest majority that always leads the coalition. That's what has been happening. We've seen it in all of our neighboring countries, in Guinea-Conakry, in Senegal, in everywhere else. So I think I would say that it is down to the smaller parties, and one can say that they also have a right to, they also have their principles, what they want to compromise, what they don't want to compromise. And this has been the big problem. And Lord Darboe has always said, especially in the last meeting, he said that one of the big problems the political parties have on the ground is that of the influence of the Gambian diaspora. And he said the Gambian diaspora needs to now be more encouraging and be more supportive of the parties coming together, rather than saying, rather than cherry picking who should lead the coalition. So we should say, look, forget about the leader who should lead. Let's try and get everybody together and then move our struggle forward, because at the end of the day, Jammeh being there is not in anybody's interest. And one of the other things I also want to say, just quickly, is that when you're dealing with dictatorship, there are at times you always have these phony oppositions that are not sincerely opposition, but oppositions that are more or less planted or implanted by the dictator just to legitimize his electoral process. And that could be in the Gambia. We don't know. I am not pointing fingers at anybody, but what I'm saying is we're dealing with a dictator that is very clever and he knows what he is doing. Some of the opposition could actually be there simply to make sure that we don't succeed in creating or having that kind of political alliance or coalition that we all been yearning for.
Thank you so much, Yankuba, for that answer. Obviously, we're talking about leadership right now. Of late, we've seen when Liberia got out of it, where we are with Ellen Johnson, Hillary Clinton over here right now, leading the polls and looking to be the first female president of the United States. The Gambia, there's a lot of talk about female leadership. We have seen some very strong women in the Gambian political scene. Mm-hmm. As an insider within the UDP, should the Gambian people expect a female candidate? Will we be seeing one coming out of Basse for the United Democratic Party? And if so, do you really think the time is right for female leadership, knowing what our cultures are? Again, this is a conversation that we're having as Gambians to not only talk about these issues, but to also prepare ourselves, debate these issues very well. Do you think our people are really ready for female leadership, given that even an independent and civilized country like the United States here, it's still having trouble, up to this date, not having a female leadership, given all the successes women have done in their history. Would you expect a female leadership out there, and are we ready for that?
Indeed, I think we are. I believe that I wouldn't even say I think. I believe that the Gambia is ready for a female president. I believe it is long overdue. And if you know that the Gambians are ready when you look at the Gambian society, and then the administrative structure of even the government. We have women right across every part of the government. Women as ministers, women as a vice president, women well before that, women were headmasters in our local communities. The position of a headmaster in a village is like a president, because he is the most educated probably in the whole of that village in those days. And he is someone that everybody look up to. And women have been playing that role for a very long time. The whole village will come and listen to the headmistress, and then the headmistress will tell them, this and this is what we want to do. The alkali and everybody. The society we are from a society, and this is something that we should be proud of as Gambians. We are from a society that did not have that much segregation of women, of seeing or that discrimination of women. We always seen women as our sisters. We love them as our sisters. We want the best of them. We want the best for them. We want to see them excel in anything that they start. And even if they're having difficulties, we try to help them. So I think having a female president, if he's not helped by his husband, the brothers will always help him. Or the wider community will help him. But more so, we have gone through what I would describe as a very hard man. A man who wants to show all the time, whenever he's talking, he wants to show that he's the man, the only man in the country. And that period has shown us that we don't need any more hard man again. We probably need a softer person. And the best people who can show their soft side is the woman. And I think it's long overdue, if you ask me. And I believe that the Gambian society itself are ready for such. They've been more or less groomed over the years by having female headmistresses in the schools, having female ministers, female commissioners, you name them. Women have been manning everything that men have been manning. And as I said, we are a society that never had that sort of discrimination. We've never seen our women lower to men,
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mr. Darboe. I have to say, I'm sitting here asking you these questions, and so far that female candidate position question that I've keep posing, you have so far given me the best answer, building it from the point of the headmistress in that little village, of how long ago leaders and women have taken leadership positions so far up to this point to the presidency. You've done an excellent job.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
President Obama was a constitutional lawyer. A lot of legal heads have become leaders of nations. Will we be seeing Yanuba Dao on the political scene in the Gambia in the Third Republic or in the future?
Yes, it's a possibility. I wouldn't be shy to say that I have every interest of serving the Gambia at whatever position I am opportune to have. And if that happens to be a leadership position, yes, why not? I think I have dreams and visions of what I want to see, what of the Gambia that I want to see in the future. And that's one of the reasons why I am in the struggle, because I believe that the current leadership they've lost their way, and they simply cannot help that country from where we are to where we should be. And people try to castigate you for expressing your desire to lead your country, but I believe that it's the greatest opportunity anybody can have to lead your country. And if you can do something better for your country and for your people, that is something that one has to be very proud of, and that is something that we should all aim to do in the future. So seeing Yanks Darboe or Yanuba Dao in the political scene in the Third Republic, why not? That would be great.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And I have to say, you're the first that would publicly admit that I've always challenged people on that. And myself, I've been all accused to be politicians, given, obviously, in my case, my father being a former politician. But again, you've said it right. We all need to step up and take on the roles and responsibilities, because failure to do that is what creates the likes of Yaya Jammeh. And there's nothing that a citizen have to be shy of to obviously take a leadership position. Now, Yanuba Dao, thank you so much for coming to the conversation. We're going to try to keep this to an hour. It's already almost 10 minutes before the hour. And I know you're a very busy guy. It was very hard getting you here today. And I honestly can talk to you for hours and hours. I'm looking at a page full of questions that I drafted last night when you confirmed that you were going to be here, and I haven't even gotten to a quarter of it. But needless, I will bring you back here to the conversation so that we can continue to discuss this very important, discussion. You're very eloquent, very well spoken. However, 21 years of rape, abuse, torture, thousands missing. The mail has been reduced to nothing in our community. Our young graduates taking the back way, risking their lives rather than staying in their country. A failed leadership that have no sympathy on our nation. Right now, we're at a crossroads of a political crossroad where we need our leaders to once and for all look at each other in the eye and be very honest to each other and come together as a united front.
Indeed.
And end this dictatorship, not because they want leadership positions, but because the Gambian person has suffered. You are a legal head. You have negotiated before. I want you to talk to this leadership and the Gambian people as closing to say why that today and right now, this moment is the time for this opposition to come together and create that necessary force that's going to get this dictatorship out of office.
Indeed. I mean, I would second you on that, Krubally. Indeed, the Gambia is at a crucial point now. Our people have suffered enough, and we don't need to tell that to the opposition leaders. I am of the belief that any Gambian is a better leader than Yaya Jammeh. Even Yaya Jammeh's own daughter, Mariam Jammeh, will make a better president than Yaya Jammeh. Yaya Jammeh has failed and will never succeed at that position. Therefore, the Gambian people are suffering, and our hearts are crying out for our opposition to please find a solution to our problem. And our problem is we want one leader. We have so many leaders. We can choose one from any one of them. They will all be better president than Yaya Jammeh. And I believe that it is not a shortage of leadership. It's a problem of just not reaching an agreement. I am calling on all the parties. I am calling on all the party leaders, and I will do my own part in talking to the party leader that I support. And obviously, that party leader is, as I said, constitutionally barred from standing, and I don't think he will be standing. But even if he is standing, I would say that he should maybe offer something that the other party leaders cannot refuse, in order for us to get out of this quagmire that we are in. We are in a dilemma. We are in a very, very pathetic situation at present. Our people, as Mr. Krubally alluded there, our young ones are dying in hundreds in the Mediterranean Sea trying to get a better life. I don't blame them. I think it is our basic human rights to have a better life, and that's what they're all trying to attain. So if we are going to get rid of Yaya Jammeh in a ballot box, we have tried it 4 times now or 3 times now. through our fighting it in our own individual parties. If you ask me, it hasn't worked. And even if we go back and experiment it again, it will not work. What we haven't tried is what I think we need to try in the next election, and that is to choose a leader, one leader. Even if it means we choose a neutral Gambian. It doesn't have to be a very educated Gambian. As I said, even a nursery school kid is better a president in the Gambia than Yahya Jammeh. Yahya Jammeh is the worst president the Gambia can ever have. And Yahya Jammeh knows that, because Yahya Jammeh is a failure to even his mother, and is a failure to everyone else that knows him. So Yahya Jammeh is a failure to he himself. Yahya Jammeh, the people who brought him there, are the very people who are regretting for taking any part in assisting him to ascend to that position. So the Gambian political leadership, the Gambians in the diaspora are calling on you. The Gambians on the ground are calling on you. Our future is at stake here. The future of your children and your grandchildren is at stake here. This is beyond individual or personal interest now. This is now a collective interest. Let us just get rid of Yahya Jammeh by just choosing whoever we can. It can be a schoolboy or anybody. Let's even choose a child that is 10 years, don't even know what we are choosing him for. Let him just be there. And when we get rid of Jammeh, we start a new, whatever, organize a new election, and then every party just go on their own and then fight, and we have a better president. But whatever it takes, we must do that to get rid of Yahya come November. If we have to get rid of him through the ballot box, I believe we have tried the other experiment for so long now. It hasn't worked. It will never work. And let no one fool us. It wouldn't work. The only thing that will work is the one that we haven't tried. If there is any probability of something working through the ballot box, is the one that we have not tried. And we should try it. By all means, we are all brothers and sisters. If Lawyer Usainu or whoever the UDP chooses leads the coalition, he's not going to come back and kill everybody. If we choose Doi leadership, they will not come and kill anybody. If we choose OJ, I think OJ is also constitutionally bad. They will not kill us. Hamad Ba will not kill us. Let's just close our eyes. Let's do whatever we can do. Even if it means flipping a coin, let's do it. But let's come with one leader. Let's come with one leader against Jammeh, one against one. And I tell you what, we will get Jammeh out of Banjul, inshallah.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Anything other than Yahya Jammeh is the best thing for the Gambia. My friend, thank you for coming to the conversation. We just celebrated our 51st independence as an independent nation. Freedom is expensive. The easy part is what we're doing here today. We're talking about our nation. We're talking about our leaders. We're talking to our leaders, talking to one another. That is the responsibility each and every Gambian has. And it is something that we owe to not only our nation, our families, but as individuals, it is ethically only right that when we see wrong, we speak about it. When we see right, we speak about it. What is happening in the Gambia is wrong. Whether you want to admit it or not, it is our responsibility. The failure to do that, history will serve us, will judge us wrong, and will judge us very, very harshly. I urge on every Gambian out there to do the easy part of fighting for freedom, equality, and a free Gambia by speaking. That is what we're trying to do here, ladies and gentlemen. We're not trying to attack anybody. These questions that we're asking to each other, we're asking to party supporters, the political leaders, these are questions that the 2 million Gambians have. And the sooner we learn to answer them, the sooner we learn to address each other, the sooner we learn to answer these questions, the sooner we hear from our opposition leaders, the better and freer we will be. That way we can stop the mass exodus that's happening in our country, the youth's dying. We are at a crossroad. It's a political crossroad. We're reaching out to every Gambian out there to join the conversation. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. Yankuba, thank you for coming to the conversation. It is always a pleasure speaking with you. We will invite you back again. I know it's very late out there. Thank you and greetings from Los Angeles.
Thank you for having me. Thank you and good evening from London.
Thank you.